Let's blow this popsicle. What's up, YouTube? It's Big Ryan the Fat Guy coming to you with the NFL Week 4 picks against the spread for the 2019 NFL season. Want to give a shout out to Godfidence IQ and TDT 420 for going with 11 wins. We actually had a few people with 11 wins this week.
Multiple.
10 to be precise. Godfidence, Art9, TDT 420, Big Morg, I Like Pineapple on Pizza, Moby Pulido, GZ07, Team Juju, and Charger Guy 15, and probably our favorite,
Little Stevie Janowski.
Little Stevie Janowski. Who the are you? But congratulations to everyone. This is where the excitement hits, though. We have a tie for the first time in BRFG history.
Yes.
A tie. And that's between Godfidence and TDT 420, both with 11 wins. Both picked an over-under of 45. I believe the over-under from Monday night was 46 points.
46 points.
So we're going to do something the first time ever. We're going to spin a wheel.
Now it's Price is Right rules. So you'll be the announcer that's gay with the shiny jacket, and I'll be Bob Barker, minus the lawsuits. Let's
spin this wheel.
This is live, guys. We don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, we don't know. Let's make this a little bigger.
This is official, guys.
T-shirt on the line.
Oh, this looks like... Oh! Godfidence.
IQ.
Sorry, TDT. We had to do it some way. The NFL flips a coin during the draft when there's a dispute between drafted picks, the number.
It's a well-deserved win. Godfidence went 11-4. He actually did it with one less win, so I'm happy Godfidence IQ won. Cocky name, but the guy's on top. What can you say?
Yeah, he won.
And then overall leaderboard, Detroit one time, still on top by one win. Then we got Bobby Nukes. Micro odds at 27. Our boy Mickey Hill and Gay for Fat Guy
of the show, Mickey Hill.
at 26. Micro odds also hitting it with his picks on Twitter he sent us.
Yes, he has. He's been pretty formidable.
Yeah, Satuple and Pick last at 25 wins. And then we're at a respectable 24, 23, and 1.
We're over 50. Yeah, we'll take it.
We're pretty much at the juice right now. So lots of weeks left to play. 24, 23, and 1. On pace with what we did last year. Hopefully it's going to be better for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think so.
And remember to compete week 4 at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com, or the link will be in the description box below. Okay, enough with all this boring stuff. Let's get on to the games. Fat Guy Thursday Night Football. Philadelphia, Green Bay. Green Bay's 4.5-point favorites at home with 75% of early bettors. Who you got?
Well, you would think when you get a comment section in the last video just full of vitriol that maybe you'd succumb to it. Maybe you're going to listen. Well, we went 10-5 going against those scrubs, 10-6.
10-6 with the Monday night game.
All right. I mean, I was ambiguous about a couple things, more than one.
You're definitely ambiguous.
Yeah. We're going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. I actually quite like this game here. The Eagles, 4.5 points. I like that spread. I feel like this is a 3-point game. So the gap in talent, 1.5 points, that's the edge for me. I'm going to take the Eagles. It's a small play, but I like the Eagles and I like the points.
Let's go on to Sunday, where the Carolina Panthers travel to Houston to take on the Texans. The Texans are 5-point favorites at home with 66% of early bettors. Fat Guy, who you got?
Man, Texans have been pretty decent lately. I mean, that was a nice win against the Chargers.
That was an impressive road win for Houston.
Impressive road win. Chargers have kind of lowered in my books. I thought that was, God, you should win that game. I was pretty confident, too. And I don't like laying points, and I did. But anyways, that was last week's news. That's a loser. This week, we're going to try and choose a winner. We're going to take the Carolina Panthers. Now, Kyle Allen has a lot of hype around him. And is he going to throw 4 touchdowns against the Texans? I don't think so. Divisional game, 5 points. Give me the Panthers.
Next up, the Cleveland Browns travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Browns are +7 on the road. Only 26% of bettors taking the Browns. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, I really think the Ravens are 3.5 points better than the Browns. The coaching is just staggeringly better in Baltimore. Wouldn't you agree, Big Ryan?
Yeah, it's not even close.
I don't get emotionally invested or too frustrated in many games. Like I'll get over it pretty quickly here. But I was actually angry at the Browns-Rams game. We lost a few shekels on that one, Big Ryan?
Yeah, it was frustrating to watch Cleveland play. They played so well on defense. They created the turnovers. It's very rare that a team wins a turnover battle and then loses the game outright, never mind covering the spread, because they were underdogs at home.
Turnover, time of possession, rushing. Felt like everything. I mean, don't quote me on all those things necessarily, but I really think Cleveland should have won that game, or at the very least covered. How do you get to the 4-yard line and you run 4 pass plays? It just really, really poor concede.
Yeah, and then they also had all 3 timeouts, and then they used one and kind of screwed. They shot themselves in the foot at the end of the game when they didn't hit that.
Wade Phillips plays chess, and I feel like Freddie Kitchens is learning to play checkers. But I wore this gear for a reason. I'm gonna ride with my Browns. Yeah, I like the Raiders too. I get it. I wear a Raiders hat too, but I'm gonna take the Cleveland Browns. I feel like 7 points is just too much. Public doesn't like the Browns. I don't blame them. On prime time, they weren't that good, but I think they can keep it within the number. This is really, with the coaching added, I really think the Ravens are only a 4.5-point favorites, so I think there's a little bit of meat on the bone to take Cleveland. And if you were a little savvy, waiting until 7.5 might be the way to go. I don't see it going to 6.5. Browns plus 7.5 is going to be a big bet for us, I think, this week.
Yeah, it would be.
If it moves that direction.
If it goes to 7.5. Next up, the Washington Redskins travel to New York to take on Daniel Jones and the Giants. Early bettors are on the Giants at 60% at -3, pretty much.
Pretty close to even as far as the public's concerned. Despite the Redskins' kind of ugly Monday night loss, it wasn't good for us either. I don't mind the Redskins' defense, and Case Keenum hadn't turned the ball over up until a really ugly game against the Bears with a lot of miscues. I think there could be some turmoil in the front office here, even in coaching. For Jay Gruden, might be a little problem. Schneider isn't exactly a patient owner, so this week could bring some turmoil. That's why I'm going to go with the New York Giants. I've been a Daniel Jones fan ever since the preseason, not the draft, mind you, and he's just impressed me. And I called it last week. I mean, we took the Giants money line here. We took the Giants to win the game. We didn't think they weren't going to necessarily, but we liked the price. I like Daniel Jones, and I think he's going to surprise. I think he's a good player. Just some of his passes are just really incredible. Kurt Warner said it was the best quarterback game he's seen yet this year, and I haven't gone through in that much detail every game, but I have to say I'm impressed with Daniel Jones. And this team is definitely invigorated. Oh, you can make the argument with Saquon Barkley. I'd rather have a star quarterback than a star running back. Give me Daniel Jones, and I'm going to lay 3 points, which is very unlike the fat guy.
Next up, the LA Chargers travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Dolphins, 16.5-point underdogs at home, 47% of bettors. Fat guy, who you got?
Oddly enough, I thought the lines favored the last 3 weeks, favored the Dolphins, despite them not covering 3 weeks in a row. I feel like this line's pretty close. I actually do. I think this is kind of right. But how can I go against the Dolphins with 16.5 points at home? How can I? Guys, we're going Dolphins. I don't love it. Just Dolphins lose by 2 touchdowns. Can we do that? They actually looked pretty good in the first half against the Cowboys. A Kenyon Drake fumble at the 2-yard line and a drop touchdown pass by Preston Williams. That might have, gave the momentum to Miami to maybe cover, maybe win, dare I say it. I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins to cover the 16.5-point spread, but I'm not loving this game.
Next up, the Oakland Raiders travel to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Colts are 7-point favorites at home. 76% of the bettors on the Colts. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, there's confidence on the Colts because they've been playing great football. We've done pretty well with them so far. They've covered, I think 3 weeks in a row now. Yeah, right on Colts. This will be the first week we go against them. I'm going to take the Oakland Raiders. They got blown out by Minnesota, who had just a really dynamic run offense. Fantastic from Cook and Madison. However, though, I'm going to take the Raiders, and I think they're going to be able to power run on the Colts a little bit. Darius Leonard might not be playing this game. I like the 7 points, and I like the Raiders, and I'm pretty jacked about this one.
Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs travel to Detroit to take on the Lions. The Lions are 7-point underdogs at home with 22% of the bettors on the Lions. Fat guy, who you got?
I'm going to take the Detroit Lions. Now, the reason this spread is 7 points, it's 6.5 in just about every book we saw, but there's positive juice on the Chiefs. So, realistically, when you buy a half a point, you're going to get it at the same price, minus 110. at some of the shops. I don't want to name them necessarily on this video, but the Lions at 7 is the most favorable Lions line we can figure out. So we're going to take the Lions. We're going to take the 7 points at home. The Lions are undefeated. The Chiefs are undefeated. Somebody got to go. Granted, the Chiefs are hot. Chiefs are maybe, anyway, one of the best offenses we've ever seen. Mahomes, I think he's usurped Aaron Rodgers as the best quarterback in the NFL. 7 points at home. Lions defense that is capable, Big Ryan.
Very capable.
Very capable, you know. I'm not a big fan of Lions coaching. I'm a big Andy Reid fan. Those screens, they just pop up. Those screenplays, they pop up all over the NFL. They're all stolen from that one big fat guy and other fat guy. But I'm still going to take the Lions because I think 7 is just a large spread at home. Chiefs are a very public team because of how explosive they are to the eye. So unfortunately, I have to fade them. But I got to be honest, I'm rooting for you guys. I'd like to see a Chiefs Super Bowl.
Me too. Next up, the New England Patriots travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Bills as well, 7-point underdogs at home, only 18% of bettors. Fat guy, who you got?
It's nice to have these games back-to-back to have to commentate on them. They're pretty much the same thing. Patriots, are they better than the Bills? Yes. 7 points on the road? I don't know. 2 undefeated teams again. 3-0. Bills a bit surprising, let's be real. But that comeback was monumental in Week 1 against the New York Jets. The interesting thing, Big Ryan, most of their touchdowns are, 70 yards or more?
Yeah, they've had 8 touchdowns this year, the Buffalo Bills. All 8 have been 70-plus yards or more, which it's impressive from Josh Allen.
It's misleading, too. Like, those plays are kind of high-variance plays. They shouldn't happen very much, especially against his Patriots defense. I have a lot of trepidations about taking the Bills in this spot. But, I got to. 7 points at home. Divisional game. Miami used to be the real threat to the Patriots, but perhaps it's the Buffalo Bills who are equally 3-0. I'm going to take the Bills, and I'm going to take the 7 points. Let's just hope for a close game, and perhaps Buffalo can cover.
I don't have as much trepidation as you. I think the Bills is a really good bet here. 7 points is a lot. Like, the Bills are not they're not a bad team. They're really hard to play at home, and it's a divisional game. This is way too many points for this game.
Yeah, the 7 is too many.
Next up, the Tennessee Titans travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Falcons are 4.5-point favorites at home with 66% of bettors. Fat guy, who you got?
I'm going to go Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to be able to pound the rock. I said this before the season. I kind of hope that Ryan Tannehill ends up starting over Mariota, and I feel like the fan base is echoing those sentiments. I like the Titans to maybe run all over the Falcons. It's going to be tough though if they get down. That's the one thing about that strategy. If the Falcons are able to score quickly through the air, I don't know how Tennessee's going to come back because they can't throw their way out of the box. That's the big problem with them. But I think Tennessee has a dare I say it, Super Bowl worthy defense. That defense is really strong. As long as they keep the time of possession, I think Tennessee's able to even upset this game. But again, this is really critical on what happens in the first quarter. I like the Tennessee Titans to cover this spread of 4.5. I could see them lose. I could see them win this game. But 4.5 I feel is a little bit too much. Give me the Tennessee Titans. Give me the points. And perhaps a good Derrick Henry performance. But we do need a good performance out of that secondary, which I feel is very strong, led by Kevin Byard.
Yeah, this game is it's just whoever dictates the tempo is going to win. Like,
Absolutely.
If Atlanta can control the passing game, they're going to win this game easy. If
they'll
Tennessee,
they'll blow
and it'll be the same way if Tennessee can control the ball on the ground.
Well, Tennessee's always going to win ugly. That's the way the team's built. It's hard to blow out teams when you're Tennessee, unless you're getting turnovers like crazy against Cleveland in Week 1. But it's pretty much it. But I like Tennessee. We're going Tennessee this week, Big Ryan.
Next up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to LA to take on the Rams. Rams are 10-point favorites at home with 57% of bettors. Fat guy, who you got?
I quite like this one. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now the Bucs lost a thriller with some very poor kicking against the New York Giants and their rookie quarterback, I guess, sensation Daniel Jones. They also, something of note for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Shaq Barrett, a former Denver Bronco, has 8 sacks, everyone, through 3 games. 8 sacks.
It's the fastest pace anyone's got to 8 sacks in the NFL history.
That's very, very interesting. And he's a guy Big Ryan and I always liked, but not necessarily as a pass rusher, as a complete linebacker, back when he was a rookie in Denver and going forward. I think Todd Bowles is a really, really good defensive coordinator. I didn't care for him much as a head coach, But as a D coordinator, I feel like he knows how to put his guys in good positions to succeed. I think they're going to be a good defense going forward. I mean, defenses usually fall off throughout the year, but I mean, next year I think they're going to get quite a little bit stronger. So I like the Bucs to keep this within the number. 10 points I feel is too much. I mean, the Rams are capable of blowing out anybody, but the way that they're structured, both teams, especially because Tampa Bay has threats downfield, and Mike Evans proved that with a near 200-yard performance and 3 touchdowns against Janoris Jenkins and the New York Giants. I think 10 points here is just too many. It just is.
10 points is too much. Tampa Bay's a scrappy team. I don't expect them to win this game, but to keep it within 10 is more than reasonable.
More than reasonable. Bucks and the points.
Next up, the Seattle Seahawks travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cardinals are 5-point underdogs at home. 19% of early bettors on the Cards. Fat guy, who you got?
We're going to take the Cardinals simply because it's a divisional game. Both teams are a little bit due up. I mean, Seattle Seahawks lost to Teddy Bridgewater and the Saints on the road. That's just a rare gaffe, and they were getting blown out during most of that game. Much to the chagrin of some of the vitriolic participants in the comment section, Teddy Bridgewater can still ball, and he beat the Seattle Seahawks along with his, I'm going to say, formidable New Orleans Saints. Now, the Cardinals are an 0-3 mess. I don't like this coach. I don't really like this offense. Air raid is what they called it, but they only threw, I believe, 4 passes beyond 10 yards out of 43 attempts from Kyler Murray.
Well, it's something you showed me, and you were very perplexed. I wasn't so much, but you just could not believe it.
Well, what are you doing? It's just so easy to play defense. And the other thing, too, is if you stretch the field, you've got a quarterback that can run. And by the way, he can barely see over the offensive line. So, if anything, I want my defenders, the opposing defenders, spread out so I can get some movement. I mean, I'm just really not impressed with the Cardinals' offense. But I kind of knew going in, so this doesn't surprise me. However, though, I'm going to take them as 5-point underdogs in a divisional matchup against the Seahawks, who are most certainly looking for revenge. A lot of the Seahawks' woes in that game came from turnovers, not by the hand of Russell Wilson, who I believe is of the best players in the National Football League, but by Chris Carson. I think it was 2 fumbles, 3 weeks in a row, eh? Big fantasy darling for both of us, but he hasn't really got it done. Rashad Penny should be coming back, and I'll be curious to see who gets the lead back roles, despite the boost in confidence early from Pete Carroll for Chris Carson in this week. I'm still going to take the Cardinals because I feel like 5 points at home, that's a lot of points, Big Ryan.
Yeah, and it was rare to see CJ Prosise actually play a game and play some snaps.
He was okay.
He was okay. And when Penny's back, it's going to be split 3 ways now between those 3 guys. That's just how it's going to.
The same thing, Big Ryan.
It's just how it's going to work. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings travel to Chicago to take on the Bears. Bears only 2.5-point favorites at home with only 12% of bettors on the Bears. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, that 12% is a little misleading because the Bears just concluded a game in their, I guess, drubbing of Washington on the road, if you can call it that. Defense looked great. Offense had a nice first half, let's say. I don't know if that's going to continue for the Bears, but I'm still going to take them, laying the 2.5 points at home in a divisional game. I think it's going to be a good test for this Bears defense. I mean, of course, they're touted as the best in the league, but this rushing attack from Minnesota has just been something else. The quickness of Cook and the way he's finished his runs. I mean, I haven't seen a running back performance like this in some time. As far as 3 games in a row, I'm really impressed with Dalvin Cook, and Madison as a backup has been pretty impressive. I like their Vikings rush attack. I like their strategy. I like their defense. But in this weekly matchup, I'm going to take the Bears, and I'm going to lay those points. 2.5 is pretty insignificant, so just a field goal wins this game. I think the Chicago Bears defense is able to string together another strong performance. Obviously, I'm worried about Mitchell Trubisky because the vaunted Minnesota Vikings defense is almost up to task as much as the Bears defense. However, it is at home. It should be easier at home, should it not? And they're also playing outdoors. Give me the Bears, and I'm going to lay the points.
This is a big game for Bears fans. They're going to show up. This is going to be we're going to take the Bears. We're going to take the points.
We're going to lay the points, Big Ryan.
Thank you. Next up, Jacksonville travels to Denver to take on the Broncos. Broncos are 3-point favorites at home with 44% of the bettors. Fat guy, who you got?
I like the Denver Broncos. Now, the Broncos may be winless, and they didn't cover for me against the Green Bay Packers, but their defense did a reasonable job. Flacco's turnover problems have been just an issue. Just an issue. Everyone's pretty upset in Denver, but they didn't really patch that problem. They drafted Drew Lock, who's clearly not ready. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos in spite of all that. I'd like to see Von Miller and Bradley Chubb have a strong performance. I think they're kind of due for that. The Jacksonville Jags, they had a nice win against Tennessee, but they're on the road in this game. 3 points isn't too much to lay, and I like Denver. Denver at home just kind of speaks to me. It's just one of those teams that it's hard for me to bet against in these scenarios. And Gardner Minshew, he's got a little bit of hype around him, a little bit of clout, and I think that's tainting this line. I feel like it should be 3.5. I mean, it's just only a half point, but when you look at the chart, that's a few percentage points. And if I can add a few percentage points into my selection, I will take it. Expected value is expected value. Give me the Denver Broncos, and I'm going to lay the 3 points.
Next up, the Sunday night game. Dallas travels to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Saints are 3-point underdogs at home, and 37% of bettors are on the Saints. Fat Guy, who you got?
Rare occurrence for this to happen. We're going to take New Orleans again. And everyone crapped on us, particularly Dylan Totfield, for not taking them so often last year, but they were just blowing everyone out. You can't do it when you're riding so high. Right now, they don't have the clout. You know what's nice, too, about the box score is it didn't tell the story if you looked at it. I think they only won by 6 against Seattle. They killed Seattle. All of Seattle's points came at the death. It was not close. And Dallas was outplayed in the first half against Miami. So these box scores couldn't really be more opposing at a glance.
That's a good point, Fat Guy.
So what I do like about that is I get the Saints at home and I get points. I understand that Breeze isn't playing and Bridgewater isn't as good as Breeze. I totally get that. But they have this dynamic offense that features Alvin Kamara. He really is the star of the show, even with Drew Brees. And let's not forget about a guy named Michael Thomas and a guy who can sprinkle in a little bit of talent, Taysom Hill. I think the Cowboys are one of the best teams in the National Football League, but traveling to New Orleans is a little bit difficult, and they had an abysmal first half against Miami. And if Miami weren't one of the worst teams I've ever seen, they would have certainly been buried beyond coming back in the first half against Miami. I'm going to take New Orleans, and I'm going to take the 3 points. And if it moves to 3.5, you can bet your bottom dollar that little red-haired Annie is going to be throwing a few shekels on the Saints, especially if I can get at 3.5. But as it stands, I'm still going to select them. Give me the Saints and give me the 3 points.
Let me throw a bit of a curveball at you. If Drew Brees was playing this game, what do you think the line would be?
That's interesting. Very interesting. I think it should be Saints minus 2.5.
I'd say 3.5.
3.5? Oh, that's a... Even though it's 2.5 and 3.5, everyone, that's a huge disagreement between Big Ryan and I. I think the Cowboys are a better built team, but you can't make the Saints an underdog at home. You just can't. Give me the Saints, give me the points.
And on Monday Night Football, the Cincinnati Bengals travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Steelers are 4-point favorites at home. 58% of early bettors are on the Steelers. Fat Guy, who you got for Monday night?
I feel like we've taken the Bengals and the Steelers every week, so I guess we got to split it this week. The Bengals almost won their game against Buffalo on the road. I think Zach Taylor is the best rookie coach out there, out of the bunch. I've liked him since his started in Seattle. I mean, he hasn't got a win yet, but I don't really care about necessarily wins and losses, more about performance, and I think he's on the right track. The Bengals roster is very, very weak, and he's managed to muster the most out of those guys. That being said, I'm going to take Mason Rudolph in this, I think, almost as well coached Steelers team. I don't like laying 4 points here, but someone's got to get a win here. It's the battle of the losers, and I'm going to take this the Pittsburgh Steelers, who almost beat the San Francisco 49ers on the road. Another good game. Both teams covered, might I add. Both teams covered. But only one team can cover on this game. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're due for a big performance. They have way more talent than the Bengals do, all things aside. Give me the Steelers, and I will regretfully lay the 4 points.
All right, let's move on to the lightning round, Fat Guy. We'll start with Thursday Night Football. Philadelphia at Green Bay.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Carolina at Houston.
Carolina Panthers.
Cleveland at Baltimore.
Cleveland.
Washington at the Giants.
Danny Dimes and the New York Giants.
Chargers at Miami.
Can Miami cover maybe?
Oakland at Indy.
The Oakland Raiders.
Kansas City at Detroit.
The Detroit Lions.
New England at Buffalo.
Buffalo Bills.
Tennessee at Atlanta.
Tennessee Titans.
Tampa Bay at LA Rams.
The Bucks +10.
Seattle at Arizona.
Arizona Cardinals.
Minnesota at Chicago.
The Chicago Bears.
Jacksonville at Denver.
Denver Broncos at home.
Sunday Night Football, Dallas at New Orleans.
Nolans at home.
And Monday Night Football, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh laying the points.
Laying them points with the Steelers. Well, thank you all. That's it for us. Big Ryan the Fat Guy, we are out. Remember, make your picks for NFL Week 4. The link will be in the description. Or check out BigRyanTheFatGuy.com.